Will grid soil sampling work for my livestock farm? This is the dairy case study section. Here's a map of the field. As it says, it's a 224 acre field. Right here on the left side of the field is where the livestock facility is at. Kind of hilly. Here's the top of a hill. A lot of contour strips. And a rotation is corn silage, corn grain, soybeans. Here's the results of the composite soil test of this field. We have a 36 part per million Bray and 171 part per million potassium. Based upon these tests, the normal recommendations are that we don't need either one of these nutrients out in the field. Here's a slide to illustrate again that the whole field is based upon a 36 part per million Bray. Now here's the results of our grid soil sampling. Remember, our livestock facility is over here on the left side, and we see we have some high phosphorus levels along there, especially along the top of the field. But on the right side we have some phosphorus needs, and we also have some potassium needs. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the right side of this field and we're going to separate out, call that our zonal area of this field. Let's look at our 4 scenarios that we have on this field. If we look at the whole field based upon our composite results, we can either spread manure across the field based upon our nitrogen needs, or we can spread manure based on phosphorus needs. Now remember that the composite soil test in this field was a 36 Bray, which means that we didn't need any phosphorus. So then we wouldn't really put manure in this field based upon a composite test of phosphorus. But we look at our grid sample and look at our zonal area over here. We can put our manure over in that field based upon the nitrogen needs of this area or the phosphorus needs of this area. Now here we have the results of the zonal test. Based upon normal recommendations, in the middle of this rotation where we are, we need about 160 pounds of nitrogen. Phosphorus, the average test in the zonal area is 15 parts per million Bray, which gives us a requirement of about 45 pounds an acre of phosphorus. We have 118 parts per million potassium, which gives us a need of about 80 pounds per acre of potassium. Now, here's what we have to work with on this dairy farm. We have 1,000 tons of a semi-solid packed manure. For each ton, we have 14 pounds of nitrogen, 5 pounds of phosphorus, and 17 pounds of potassium. We have a field of 224 acres. We have a corn silage, corn grain, soybean rotation. We have a broadcast spreader that can go from 5 to 25 ton an acre, and we have an expected yield of 175 bushels per acre. Let's look at this table that shows the results of these three different scenarios. This first field where we're looking at putting N-base across the whole field, well, we have 224 acres, but it takes 20 ton an acre in order to take care of our nitrogen needs, and that is only enough to cover 50 acres. So the real question is, which portion of this field would you put this on? Without the knowledge of the grid sampling, is it going to be on the same part of the field that's always been getting manure, or are you going to drive to the other end? If we go over here looking at our zonal areas, we can look at, we have 89 acres in that zonal area, and so we can cover most of that with our manure to take care of our nitrogen needs, or we can cover all of that with a little bit left over if we do it based on the phosphorus need. Now here we have a slide showing us the economic returns of these various scenarios. The first scenario, where we're putting the manure on the field based on the N-based, we got a pretty low return. This is primarily due that we're not getting any value of the phosphorus or potassium in this scenario. But we go over to the area of the field that needed the phosphorus, and we look at the first side where we're putting the manure down on the N-base for the zone. We're getting a 2-to-1 return, in spite of the fact that we have a $2,300 cost of grid sampling in the whole field. And this, of course, this grid sampling is a cost out of 4 years, but nevertheless, in the first year, we're getting a 2-to-1 return. But we're putting it down on the phosphorus base, we're actually getting a 3-to-1 return. Remember, this is just for comparing the value of the manure to commercial fertilizer. We should see an extra yield by being able to put the manure down in the areas of the field that really need the phosphorus and the potassium. This is an excellent example of why we should be looking at grid sampling and using those results to put down manure. This is the conclusion of the dairy case study and will grid sampling work for my livestock farm.